Hi, good afternoon. This is Evie's. I'm sorry. I know back in December I did say that I was going to continue to have videos at least once a week, but due to personal illnesses that I have, I was unable. I will talk about them more when in other videos when I talk about personal healing. However, I will address that earlier this morning I did put on Facebook a little information about what Manly Hall talks about pandemic and what does that represent and what type of alignments planetary and all of that. I'm not going to touch astrology because I am not the best person as with astrology or understanding that. If you're going to look at it, you're more than welcome to look at it at your own time and you decide for your best. However, for me, I will focus on just the meaning of pandemic because when I talk pandemic right now, I want to relay that to another word. And what I'm saying is pandemic, according to Manly Hall, but if I look at etymology, it's the exact same thing. It comes from two Greek words, pan, P-A-N, which is right now in our language, pan means all. And then it comes from the word demons, which in English means people. So it's pandemic, demons. And this is important because demons also is in relation to dematic, meaning pertaining to common people. And this is important because pandemic, as we know right now, it brings an illness that a lot of people get sick, but the ones that are getting more affected are the common people, or what we call now the middle class and the lower class. They're the ones that are getting more affected by it, and that's where my problem begins. However, when it talks about pandemic also produce another sickness that is sometimes tends to be more powerful because it has to do with how you feel. And I call it fear, because that's what you feel. You feel fear. You'll be afraid of going out. You'll be afraid of going to work. You'll be afraid of being around people because you don't know if they're ill, if they are vaccinated. You don't know, because let's face it, people are not going to walk with a label on their forehead saying I'm vaccinated. And because of it, other people that are not vaccinated will take advantage and will not wear their mask. Respecting the rules of the state as to what it should be implemented, we should all follow them. So I'm not saying no to that, but what I'm saying is that creates a chemical reaction that produces fear. So when we are stressed out because of being afraid, we actually make our immune system even being unable to fight any illnesses, regardless of what you have. So it had nothing to do with the COVID. What fear does to you with the chemicals that are in that, they produce in your body, it lowers your immune system to a point where you can find not even a regular cold. So you will get a headache. You will feel like you have a cold or flu. And again, I'm not saying these are not the same symptoms that people get when they have a COVID. But what I'm saying is that it lowers your immune system. And I think we spend too much time watching the news. And that's what people do. A lot of people are doing that. And I personally try to stay as much as I can away from the news. Why? Because I never liked the news and never will. Because to me, the only thing the news brings to you, sadly, is information that gives you anxiety and makes you afraid, or probably worse, it makes you upset because whatever is happening, it might be right in your backyard. So it's personal to you too. So that's why I stay away from the news. But it doesn't take from the fact that it gives you that fear, that sensation that you don't want that. But with that being said, I want to go back to a book in the Bible. The one is called Genesis. In Genesis chapter 9:2, and I'm going to use an amplified version. This is what it says. It says that the fear and the terror of you should be instinctive in every animal of the land and in every bird of the air, and together with everything that moves on the ground, and with all the fish and the sea, they are given unto your hands. Now, this is interesting because this part of the version of the Bible is using the word instinctive, meaning it's already in you. You're going to feel it. So it doesn't matter what you do, it just comes. Now, this is interesting because Genesis 2:9 deals with God talking with Noah after the deluge. So the world was already created in chapter 1. But in chapter 9, he's mad. God is mad at the way the world was going. So he decided he wanted to destroy the earth and everything living in it. And when he did that, and he used Noah to save certain things, which I'm not going to discuss that because that's not what I'm discussing right here. What I'm discussing right here is the difference between the first creation. And in the first creation, God gave Adam the idea that he was able to rule and have dominion. The word is actually dominion over God's entire creation. But in here, chapter 9, not only he's giving humanity dominion, but he's telling them that all of his creation will have instinctively fear towards humankind. Now, this is not me. This is God saying this. And depending where that information comes from, God only knows what humanity is capable of doing. And again, I'm not taking from the what's happening with this pandemic, how many people have lost loved ones, including myself. I lost my mom last year in June because of the pandemic. And then I'm not even concerned at the fact that people are dying, because it is a problem and it's so sad. But what strikes me the most is not just the fact that people are dying. What strikes me the most is that they're dying by themselves. They're dying in the hospitals, and their loved ones are unable to go and see their loved ones passing, when that was not the case before. Before, if you knew your parents were dying or anybody that you love, you were able to go to the place and be with them. And that's not acceptable. That's not allowed. We were not allowed. We were only allowed to see our mom and to a video, and not even 45 minutes after my mom passed. And what I'm saying is that I really, it's one of the worst feelings that you can ever feel. So if you can think about having your loved one and then seeing your loved one on the phone, and you are unable because they didn't allow us to see her, but they also didn't allow us to bring her home. We couldn't do neither or. So the only thing we could have done was a video. 45 minutes, my mom passed. So I can only imagine how hard it was. I know how hard because I've been there. But I can never imagine how the person who's actually passing feels that they have to go through that alone when they should have been with their loved ones, and yet they can. So we have to look at the entire picture of what this pandemic is doing. And I think that there's a lot to it that we have to consider. And I'm not saying that that it's not real. I'm not saying that people are not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is also hurting other aspects of ourselves, including our own immune systems for those that are still here. And what I like to share, just in more, and I like to share this. I did share this part of the Genesis, the Bible, because the Bible, we also have to look at it from aspects as to why things happen the way they happen. So we should not be reading just one part of the Bible. We should read, if we're going to talk about not just one verse, we should read what's before that. But what struck me was, for this part of the Bible, that what I'm sharing with you is that, again, Genesis 1, when God created, and then it was Adam, he gave instructions to have dominion. But in Genesis 9:2 is the same aspect, giving dominion. But this time he's saying he's putting fear already instinctively. It's in us. So we have to understand, what are we watching right now? What are we hearing? What are we seeing? And we have to have discernment to know the difference between what is real and what is not real. We have to know what is being exaggerated and what is not exaggerated, what is accurate information. And it's going to be extremely hard. Why? Because you have people, doctors, scientists, you have other people, politics, talking about the illnesses and what does this produce. It is hard for you to determine who is saying the truth and who is actually exaggerating. So that this is something that we all have to put in prayer, and we also have to ask God to give us the wisdom, to give us the understanding and then discernment to know the difference on to what is real and what is partial real but it has been exaggerated, and what is not real at all. And with that, I leave that up to you guys, however you decide, but we need to ask God for guidance, especially during this time. But because I'm only focusing on fear and what does that produce to us, I have to share that during this time of pandemic, although I was staying at home, I did not, just like everybody else, I was following the rules. I was staying at home. If I would go shopping, I would do it very early so I wouldn't have to be around people. I would use my mask, and where I work, they're very strict about that. And so I will follow the rules with no problem. But I will have to say that at times I was actually exposed because of other people that I either when we were in a meeting or when we work, or perhaps through my husband, and you know, it happens. So there's nothing we can do about it, especially during when that happened before. But I have to say that during that time, and since then, I've been using these things called angelic forks. And angelic forks, it's something that it helps your body vibrate at a higher level. And I'm saying this because since fear creates such a low vibration in your body that makes you sick, because it brings these hormones that the only thing it does, it creates more stress, more anxiety, and all of that. And we don't want that. We want to keep our vibrations high. I recommend that every so often, for those that can and can buy them, if they can use the angelic forks. And please make sure you do them more often. If you look into angelic forks and what does that do, every angelic fork has a different tone. And the higher the tone, the higher the vibration. And of course, that is something that we have to learn, where we begin in the lower vibration, 428, and then we surely increase little by little until we get into something that it's more higher. But you will be surprised how your body start feeling, how you start thinking, and how you start feeling overwhelmingly better. It's like it's just unbelievable. And for me, I have to say, and I'm gonna have to put out there, you don't have to believe me, but you can always try. Because again, if we look at what the Bible just said, that this is instinctively in every creation that God did, and that there are certain people that have dominion, and that they know that they can use this fear against us, then we have to find a way to bring that vibration where when you are around people who are constantly overwhelmed by fear, by depression, by anxiety, you won't feel it. It won't overwhelm you either. Why? Because you are vibrating at a different level. You're vibrating at a higher level, and that's what's important. And I'm gonna try to see if I can find the forks so you can see. And I apologize for that, but these are the angelic forks, and these angelic forks has a different vibration. Now this one is 4,000, and it sounds like this. And it's so high pitch that my dog just run out of here. He was in the other room and he left. So this is very high pitch, and it's so strong that at times not even my dogs can take it, and I feel bad that I had to do that. Sorry, Gavin. But what I'm saying is that if you use this and you continue to do these, your body will vibrate at a different level, and you'll be surprised when you find out that you were around a group that was exposed, that did have some kind of illness, including COVID, and you go and get tested, it's going to say negative. So it's as simple as doing this. Now, I'm not a healer, but if you look into healing forks, there's many books, many books, and plenty videos that you can watch and see if you're not a person that likes to read, that will actually talk about these. This is very ancient. I believe people in Europe, especially Chinese, Vietnamese, in that area, they use these forks a lot for healing with Reiki and all of that. And again, this is just to say that I wanted to use the meaning of pandemic, because if we, the common people, have more attacks with all kinds of illnesses, because sometimes we just don't have the resources, then we're going to have to find things that we can do in our own at home, and then help lift our vibration, and then go from there. And again, I just wanted to discuss the part about what pandemic means, because right now we're dealing with that. So if we're dealing with pandemic, we are also dealing with this spirit that brings fear to us. So the only way you can eliminate it is if you use, and not eliminate it, but bring your vibration so high, then it doesn't matter what's out there or around you, it simply will not attack you. And that was the point of this little video that I did just for now. And I will bring more videos later about different things, but today I want to wrap it up and keep it short, so this way if people want to watch it and see it, it's no more than 18 minutes or something like that. So with that being said, thank you for being paying attention, watching it. Thank you for being with us, well, especially with me. So my love and many blessings to all for those that watch it. Thank you. Have a good evening.